presentation. We're glad to have you today as we discuss the Entry to Program Stream grant through the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. And today we're going to discuss how to prepare and submit your application for this opportunity. But before we dig in too far and get into things, I just want to mention that this presentation will be recorded and made available at a later date to view online. So we'll now start the recording of the presentation. I am Laurel Mitchell. I'm the Director of Public Impact for Erie Arts and Culture. My pronouns are she, her, and this afternoon I am wearing dark rectangular glasses, a light pink sweater, and I have brown, long, straight hair. I'm joined today by my colleagues, Devonna Paisley, Program Associate, and Carla Bretz, Grants Associate. Devonna, would you like to introduce yourself first, followed by Carla?
I always do that. I'm muted. Hey folks, my name is Devonna Paisley. As stated, I am the Program Associate here at Erie Arts and Culture. I am a brown skin, first, my pronouns that I use are she and her. I'm a brown skinned queer woman in my early 30s. I am currently wearing a leopard print turtleneck, circular rose colored glasses, and hooped gold earrings. I'd like to now introduce my colleague, Carla.
Hi there, my name is Carla Bretz. I am the Grants Associate here at Erie Arts and Culture. My pronouns are she, her, and I am wearing a dark gray sweater with a colored print scarf. Also some purple dark rimmed glasses, and I have dark blonde hair. Go ahead, Laurel.
Thanks to both of you. Before we go further, I also want to mention that today's presentation is part of Erie Arts and Culture's Pro Network. And so we want to thank the National Endowment for the Arts for their continued support of presentations like these. And again, I want to thank all of you who are taking time out of your day to join us, both through Zoom and through Facebook Live. So as we jump in here, I want to start with our presentation. We are here for you at any time. Best way to reach us is through email. But through that, we can always set up phone calls and answer questions through that. Moving on, though, to our presentation overview today, we are going to go over a brief history of the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts and also a history of the Pennsylvania Partner on the Arts, or the PPA for short, as well as Erie Arts and Culture and our relationship with the PPA. We'll also, of course, discuss what the Entry to Program Stream grant is, the eligibility around organizations' ability to apply to the grant. We'll also go through the online application process and walk you through that. And finally, we'll allow time at the end of today's session for a question and answer time period. So to kick things off, I'm going to turn things back over to Devonna so that she may share some history and background information about these organizations. So Devonna, take it away.
Okay, so we're going to start with the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. Before we begin, we're just going to give a little bit of a background. The Pennsylvania Council on the Arts began in fall of 1966 by Governor William D. Scranton, who signed the legislation establishing the Pennsylvania Council of the Arts. This program began in 1968 with the support of community members and community arts festivals. The mission for the agency was to strengthen, and still is, to strengthen the cultural and educational and economic vitality of Pennsylvania's communities through the arts. The PCA does promote equitable access for all Pennsylvanians to participate in having more of a creative life and diverse forms of art and culture in the Commonwealth. Also currently accomplishing the mission through a combination of grants to the arts, partnerships and initiatives, technical assistance to partners, applicants, and serving by as the resource for arts-related information for public officials, agencies of state government, and general public in the general public. To learn more about the PCA and the different initiatives that are going on, please visit the link that is here, https://www.arts.pa.gov. And moving forward, Erie Arts and Culture, how we fall into that is the PCA has...
Yeah, we apologize for the technical glitch here. Please bear with us as she gets back on board here. I'll just quickly go through this history that Devonna was working on, and then we'll get into the nitty gritty, the really exciting part here soon. So Erie Arts and Culture is one of the designated partners of the Pennsylvania Partners in the Arts program. And so as a result, we're administering this program and others in our region. Erie Arts and Culture, of course, promotes, supports, develops cultural and creativity at the regional level across the 6-county region, which is Crawford, Erie, Lawrence, Mercer, Venango, and Warren counties. And simply put, EAC regrants dollars through the PCA, PPA, while being mindful of the state's mission and core values. Erie Arts and Culture is also committed to these same values. As a champion of the arts, Erie's Arts and Culture is committed to utilizing resources that support the creative sector and reach traditionally underserved populations and promote diversity, inclusion, and equity. And to finish this up here real quick, the role of the Erie Arts and Culture as a PPA partner is as follows: to publicize grant opportunities such as these, to administer the process for the grants, to facilitate the payment process to selected grantees, and to collect data and reports regarding program activities from grantees. And so moving forward with this, now Carla's going to walk us through exactly what the details are of entry to program stream.
All right, so what you guys are all here for. Entry to program stream is a new pathway for all small arts organizations and arts programs with an annual revenue of less than $200,000 across the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania to receive ongoing unrestricted funds with grants of about $2,000. The entry to program stream provides general operating support, which helps organizations strengthen their core capacity, engage in critical planning efforts, and pay expenses related to staffing, business functions, and programming. Whereas in the past, program stream provided assistance for one project a year, entry to program stream better supports long-term organizational sustainability by covering the ongoing organizational expenses or your overhead. Entry to program stream looks at the organizational performance versus a future project. So how does it work exactly? Well, entry to program stream will be available annually statewide across Crawford, Erie, Lawrence, Mercer, Venango, and Warren counties, and that is how us, Erie Arts and Culture, will distribute the money. Eligible organizations will apply to entry to program stream with the aim of eventually qualifying for program stream, which will provide more ongoing and flexible support at a higher grant level. Organizations may qualify for program stream after consistently receiving funds through entry to program stream, receiving good panel assessments, and fulfilling grant award requirements. And now Laurel will share with you the entry to program stream eligibility guidelines.
Yes, thank you, Carla. So to be eligible for this entry track to program stream, there are a few things to keep in mind, as you can imagine. And I also want to acknowledge, since we don't have the access to the PowerPoint right now, that I know this is going to sound like a long list, but we have all of this that we will share, can point you to on our website. So don't feel like you need to take frantic notes or anything like that, but just to give you an awareness. First is that your organization must have an average annual revenue of less than $200,000 a year. You also need to have a history of at least 1 year of consistent arts programming. Applicants must be a registered nonprofit tax-exempt corporation, a unit of government, or a school district who provides art programming and/or art services within Pennsylvania. Examples of this would include a college or a university, library, social service organization, a healthcare facility, science or historical museum. And it's worth noting that applicants are required to provide proof of incorporation and activity in Pennsylvania before the applications are reviewed, scored, and funds are awarded. Additionally, unincorporated groups must apply through a nonprofit tax-exempt corporation that serves as a fiscal sponsor. And those fiscal sponsors are legally responsible for the administration of the contract, including all reporting requirements. And those sponsors may also charge a fee for services. So you want to consider that as you are potentially collaborating with someone who would be in that role. Applicants also applying through a fiscal sponsor organization must meet the same requirements as the other applicants, except for the nonprofit status. And finally, the fiscal sponsor is the one who is responsible for any award. Fiscal sponsors receive the check directly from Erie Arts and Culture, and then they are the ones responsible for ensuring the completion of the funds. One final thing I want to mention here too in this list is that if you are applying to entry track, to program stream, you cannot also be applying to AOAP or program stream proper. Those programs, which are very similar, a lot of the names are very similar and kind of overlap, are for different tiers of funding and operational parameters. So this specific track is, if you're in this one, you're not in the other ones, and kind of vice versa. So I just want to make special note of that. I also want to go over the grant matching requirements with everyone, and a lot of this is going to probably sound familiar to those of you who have gone after other funding. So first off, all grants must be matched on a dollar-to-dollar basis in cash. In-kind goods and services may not be used to match funds allocated from the Pennsylvania Council on the Arts. And entry to program stream grant funds cannot be used to match other PCA grants, since it's all coming from the same place. That has to remain separate. And as we think ahead to what it would look like if you receive this grant award for your organization and the limitations that come through, it looks like this. So first, you cannot use funds for anything outside of the grant period itself. You cannot use funds for activities that have a religious purpose, nature, cannot provide payments to lobbyists. Cash prizes and awards are prohibited. Benefit activities cannot be funded through this grant. Hospitality expenses such as receptions, parties, gallery openings, things of that nature. Capital expenditures, including equipment costing $500 or more, is prohibited. Competition and fees associated with that. And finally, performances and exhibitions that are not open to the public cannot be funded with these dollars. Now, Devonna, I think is Devonna fully back online and audio is good? Okay,
yes,
so
I'm back.
Devonna, I'm going to let you jump in here with the next step and walk us through the application process, please.
Absolutely. My apologies. I like to blame Mercury in retrograde for these technical difficulties. But anyway, so the application process for our community partners in the Crawford, Erie, Crawford County, Erie, Lawrence, Mercer, Venango, Venango and Warren. You may apply as soon as possible online. Visit our erieartsandculture.org, and then you can go to, sorry, give me one sec. And then once on the Erie Arts and Culture website, you scroll over to the programs and services, and then you're gonna click on organizational support. And then from there, you'll scroll down to the Pennsylvania Partner in the Arts PPA program, and then select the PPP entry to program streams grant. We have tried to make the form and the information as user-friendly as possible. So hopefully you'll be able to find the information that you do need for this grant by visiting our website. But if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself, Laurel, or Carla as well. And additionally, the application can be through the direct link provided in the previous emails that you probably have all had received. And then please note that the entry to program stream applications are only accepted online. So right now at this moment, we are not doing any hard copy, any paper, but we're doing the online. So again, if there's any questions, comments, concerns, please let us know. We'll be able to walk you through the process. All right, so as far as the application goes, we do use Submittable. Submittable is a platform that we use for our grant applications. And many of you may already be familiar with Submittable. If you're not familiar, hopefully you'll be able to find this as very user-friendly, which it is. It's actually getting better with a lot of their applications and the things that they have embedded. If you do not have a Submittable account, please make a free account. So the account that you do make can be free. It is free to submit your application. And on that tip, we do recommend that that you prepare your answers. So with Submittable, at times it's way more important to submit the answers by writing them down first on like either a piece of paper or a document that you already have. That way you can transfer those things onto your Submittable application. It just gives you a better chance to work out your ideas and your plans in advance outside of the online platform. If there's any trouble with your previous login information, please contact Submittable directly. Submittable will be able to get you through, with your login and whatnot. Basic facts regarding submitting an application to Submittable can be found on their website. Erie Arts and Culture is unable to assist with the logins through Submittable, because that's the platform we are using. So please make sure that you do reach out to Submittable, and they're pretty quick in response. I'd say give them about 24 hours. 24 to 48 hours. Okay, so let's continue. Important dates to remember. The application is due by February 15th, obviously 2020. Applications, late applications will not be accepted. And then for the grant performance period, and that is when we start at September 1st and through the August 31st. And then now Carla will share some of those application process reviews with you, the review criteria, and also the scoring scale. Carla?
Alrighty. After an application is submitted through Submittable, the application will be reviewed by an advisory review panel to make recommendations for the PCA's consideration and making a final decision. The panel may or may not be familiar with your organization, so be sure to include as much information about your organization as you can. We'll touch on that later. Organizations or programs will stay in entry to program stream until they are recommended for program stream. And once you are in program stream, the grants will range generally between $3,000 and $5,000. Next slide, please. All right, and now we have the review criteria. The Pennsylvania Council on the Arts has specific criteria in 3 categories that the panel will look for in each application. The criteria in these categories add up to 100 points. The first category is quality of artistic product, process, or service, and that is the equivalent of 35 points. This would show that there's evidence that that activities relate to and advance the applicant's mission or arts program goals, quality of arts-related activities, evidence of measuring artistic success. So how do you as an organization measure your successes? What data do you have to show the successes? Is your organization able to supply as evidence of activities that relate to your mission or your program goals? Those are all things you would want to include in that part to make sure that our panelists would know exactly what your organization is doing. The second category is access to the arts. That is also 35 points. You would want to show evidence of knowledge of and outreach to different audiences. Evidence of engagement efforts with culturally, socioeconomically, and or geographically diverse audiences or stakeholders. So show us or show the panelists community engagement, how it happens and how there's some outreach to your stakeholders. And you would also want to show us or the panelists if your organization can provide evidence of engagement with diverse populations, geographical audiences, and whatnot. And lastly, the third category is management. You'll want to provide evidence of effective planning and the implementation of programs, evidence of effective management and financial resources. So what does your organizational structure look like? What does staff capacity look like? How does your organization have efficient and effective management? How are your organization's expenses broken down? And what are your organization's other funding sources? Next slide, please. Finally, we have the scoring scale that the panelists will be using. This will show the scale from 35 to 0 in the categories of quality of artistic product, process, or service, and access to the arts. The scale will range from 30 to 0 for the management category. Exemplary scores are at the top of the scale. Superior, very good, good, acceptable, and marginal are in the mid-range to low bottom of the scale, and unacceptable is at the very bottom. And now Laurel will wrap up with some helpful hints, tips, and tricks, and lead us into any questions you may have. Go ahead, Laurel.
Thank you, Carla. So yeah, as Carla mentioned, I want to just kind of remind everyone of one really big thing that Devonna mentioned, and that is working through your answers and your application in advance of hitting submit on your application. So if you've not done so already, please review the online application through Submittable as soon as possible. It is on that site, it is live now. And we also encourage you to not wait till the last minute, right before things are due, just so that you have time to, again, work through the answers, gather the resources and information that you will need internally to then prepare and submit, through the application to us and through the PCA. I also want to remind you to all be as precise and concise as possible on your application because of that scoring scale that Carla just went over with us, that, thinking about how panelists will be scoring based on the quality of your application as a whole. So give us that window into your organization in every facet and try to find that good balance between helping us become familiar and providing that information in the most succinct way that will help you in this process. The proper introduction of your organization through this application is one of the most critical things. And right now, we don't, in this moment when you're applying, there's no way to tell you who the panelists are or anything like that. That's not part of the process. So you have to prepare for the panelist having never heard of your organization, having no familiarity or any, thoughts around that, and start from there essentially. So keep that in mind as you're working through this. Again, being as detailed as possible, but also succinct is really what you want to strive for. The more confident and better description that you can provide of your organization, the better the panel will do when they are scoring and reviewing your application, which will hopefully lead to success in you receiving the grant monies. And like I said, too, don't assume that people will know who the organization is. And that's probably one of the biggest things that we see folks get tripped up on is kind of that assumption. So please take that in mind. And also want to be aware, share with you that panelists are using the criteria that we have gone over here today, the metrics, the point evaluation, things of that nature. That is what they will receive when they are reviewing your applications. So please include everything that you'll see within Submittable. And if you follow that through and prepare in advance and get those applications in advance of the February 15th deadline, you should have a great shot at success. So now to just kind of recap, I know that we've thrown a lot of information at you, and we had a little lack of our visuals there for a moment. So I expect we'll have some questions here today. I want to remind you again that we are here for you as a team to answer your questions both today and up through this entire process, especially up until that February 15th deadline. Please mark that on your calendars. Tuesday, February 15th, 5 p.m. have those applications in. But that concludes our presentation for right now. So I want to take time to answer your questions and see what we can do to help you feel prepared to submit your application soon.
I see John's hand. Hi, John.
Hi there. Hey, so I see based on the calendar that I could submit for the festival for next year's festival, but I can't. I'm not eligible for this year's. No way around that, I presume.
That is correct. This is for the 2022-2023 application. So this will be for later on. So anything that would be retroactive to that grant funding period would not be covered.
So I'm applying for 19 months from now.
Yes. The state does everything way ahead of time. That is unfortunately a little out of our control.
Laurel, I appreciate the presentation here. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. This is Guy McCumber. I'm representing the Meadville Community Theater, and you had really briefly mentioned something about a funding source in Crawford County that we should not duplicate, and or whatever. I wasn't quite sure what I apologize. I'm kind of new to the theater funding world or the arts funding world. Is there another resource in Crawford County that we should be looking at, or am I missing something?
I definitely want to make sure I'm not missing something, but I suspect it might be referencing when I mentioned that if an organization is applying for this specific grant, the entry track to program stream, that it means you cannot apply to program stream or the AOAP opportunities, which are also operational support from the PPA, and one having a very similar name. Is that what you're referencing?
Yeah.
I know you're...
Yeah, is there a program based in Crawford County that I'm not aware of or something like that? I mean, again, I'm new to this.
Not that I'm aware of. I don't, am I missing anything, Carla? That's specific
I would say, and this would not conflict to my knowledge with entry to program stream, but I do know from some past fundraising experience that you might want to look to Crawford County Gives Day. That could probably benefit the theater.
Okay. Yeah. We did that this year. I just thought that there was another like arts specific program to Crawford County, but it doesn't sound like it from what you're saying.
No, not that I'm aware of. And this, if you're kind of new to this, or organization is new, or has been, out of the loop with some of these other programs, this is the way to start that relationship or to get back on track. No pun intended there, as this is entry track to program stream. It is a little confusing, and I do want to touch on this briefly, that there are two programs, and you're either in one or the other, but there's program stream, and then there is this program, entry to program stream. So a lot of overlap, perhaps not the most user-friendly terms brought to us through the PPA. We kind of all joke about that, but it is a lot to keep straight. So it's a good thing. I'm glad you raised that question. Thank you. And I do want to address a question I see in the chat regarding the PowerPoint. Yes, we can share that with all of you so that you have everything that we have walked through today right there, slide by slide. And this recording will be made available through our website. Within the next few days, we'll have that live, so you can reference that as well, or share that with anyone who might not have been able to attend today to help get the word out on this.
Yeah, Laurel, I had another question too. This is Guy again. I apologize. Again, I'm new to this, but someone on our board mentioned that they thought that we had gotten this funding in the past, which I don't know. Again, I'm new to this, and I haven't done any file research or anything like that. Would that prevent us from getting this funding if we've got this entry funding before? Am I making any sense?
No, you're making great sense, and it's a very, very good question. So without knowing the exact details, your organization may have been part of Project Stream, which was a different program that was exactly what it sounds like, project-based, as Carla mentioned earlier too. And so that project-based funding has morphed into this program that we're talking about today, which is much more operational based within a certain time frame. If you were part of Project Stream in the past, that would have no bearing on your eligibility right now. It would probably help you because you're a little bit familiar, your organization's familiar as a whole in receiving this type of funding from the PPA. And similarly, if your organization was in Program Stream or AOAP, again, these operational kind of broad support funding streams from the PPA, and for whatever reason you're not receiving that funding, even if it was, you know, within the last couple of years, as soon as there's a disruption from that, whether you're ineligible, didn't get the application in on time, just, you know, circumstances outside of an organization's control, if that year-to-year involvement is disrupted for any reason, this new grant program, Entry Track to Program Stream, is the place to kind of get back on track, to re-enter that system. And so it's not so much a penalty of if you were involved before and being ineligible, but instead kind of having an open door to welcome folks back into this type of operational support. So either way, I don't think you need to worry about it. Again, not knowing all the details of what the past may have been, but this is a program to welcome people into hopefully a continuous stream of support from year to year with, you know, proper application and materials.
Well, thank you. That's very hopeful. So I appreciate that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, great questions. Great questions. Keep them coming. What else can we help answer today while we're together? And if there aren't questions that, or if they're not, you know, coming to you right now in this moment, that's all right too. If you're like me, you'll think of something about, you know, 5 hours later, later tonight, and that's okay. We are here to support you whenever you might think of those questions, or as you start walking through the application process. So once you get into Submittable and start reviewing things, you might have questions, especially specific to your organization. That's the time to reach out. All of us are available, like I said earlier, through email. Also, if you get in touch with us, we can provide you a link directly to our calendars where you can see our availability and schedule time directly with us in a one-on-one capacity to talk through questions specific to your organization and specific to your application. So I invite all of you to be in touch in those regards and let us know how we can help you prepare the best application possible. If there are no other questions today, I think we'll be able to conclude a little bit early, but one last call. Any other things coming in from anywhere? All right. Well, I want to thank you all again so much for taking time out of your day and for sticking with us through our technical difficulties and for bringing your questions and interest to us. We're glad that you're here. We hope that you will all apply and again, that you'll be in touch with any questions. So please don't hesitate. Thank you again. And I hope that the rest of you all have a great afternoon.